There was an unpopular novel. The sole reader of this novel muttered curiously to himself, "Why is nobody reading this masterpiece?" However, he himself exclaims, who would want to read a novel with 3,000 chapters, that took himself 10 years to read. However, as he glooms over the final unread chapter, oblivious that the novel he has been reading will become a reality, we watch as the fall of humanity transpires and our main protagonist fights an unknown man wishing to know who he is. Blown away, he proclaims, "I am the sole reader who knows the epilogue of this world." Seriously, that's it, he claims upon seeing the ending, which is merely a statement reading, "There are ways to survive in a ruined world. I've forgotten some of them, but one thing's for sure, you who read this will survive." Our main character introduces himself as Dakja, expressing how is misunderstood, noting the Dakja characters mean a only child, a reader, or one who is not reliant on others, proclaiming to the gentleman his name is Kim Dakja, explaining, his father named him that expecting him to be strong and independent, but because of his name suffers loneliness as a regular guy. We are then given a biography of Kim, seeing as a 28-year-old graduate, working as a contractor for a large company's subsidiary, describing his hobbies as reading web novels on the train home. But on this day the train ride home felt unusual. A figure peering over him, he looks up to see Usanga, an attractive girl who makes Dakja flustered, marveling at her beauty as she explains why she's on the train. Usanga becomes curious of Kim's phone, wondering what he is reading. Dakja hurriedly hides it in embarrassment, however monologuing how the fantasy novel has been reading every day for 10 years, 3 Ways to Survive a Ruined World, disclosing has been reading the novel since middle school, even during being bullied or when he screwed up in his entrance exams, and even during military service, leading to his now working adult life, explaining how the novel first began receiving 1,200 views and then after 10 chapters dropped to 20 people and slowly dropped until it was just him viewing them, and sometimes 2, proclaiming that you could say the story was just for him, thinking how he wishes he could have donated to the author but due to finances could only offer kind words, or even going as far as making recommendation threads, but that was met with ridicule. Dakja and Sangha converse on how they joined the company last year, laughing at their cluelessness back then, Dakja disclosing that his contract is almost over, creating a sense of awkwardness as Usanga has been promoted to a full-time employee. Awkwardly, Dakja apologizes for not congratulating her. He starts to praise her, explaining that if it was a web novel, Usanga has that main character energy. He then begins to question if his life genre was to change from realism to fantasy, could he be the protagonist? A few moments later he receives a message from the author thanking Dakja, explaining they can now enter a competition due to him. He confusingly questions the competition and congratulates the author. They converse and the author wants to send him a gift via email. Dakja then receives an email and checks the gift, reading, "Mr. Dakja, the paid service will begin at 7 p.m. claiming that will help him." Dakja attempts to access the work, however being locked out as it's 6:55 p.m. Moments later the train manufacturers leaving the passengers dazzled in fear, and an ominous cold mouth appears. Dakja in this moment of chaos checks Sangha is okay, and by chance 7 p.m. hits. Dakja tries to deduce what paid service is, however a message board is sent shouting free of planet number 8612 has now ended, commencing main scenario. Someone screamed it's a dakibi while making sense of everything that happened. Kim Dakja begins to questions, referring back to the novel as read for 10 years. It was too strange to call a fairy, too evil to call an angel, and too tranquil to call a demon. As a description of a monster appeared, a rush of impossibility comes over Dakja, questioning the possibility. This was the moment fiction met reality for Dakja as comments were thrown. Dakja understood the reality of what's happening and that this dakibi will bring tragedy and calamity. The dakibi announced himself and started to talk to the crowd, but was met with ridicule by the crowd. Dakja understood the crowd must stop and told Sangha to stay put. The cute dakibi attitude changed as his eyes changed bloodshot red. He blew off many of the crowds who ridiculed him. Heads, Dakja and onlookers stunningly watched the dakibi, then rants on how humans have lived a peaceful life so far, criticizing the humans beneath him on how the old days of life are over. As the crowd is frozen in fear, a man steps forward exclaiming on how he can give the dakibi money. However, the dakibi burns the money. Growing tired of attempting to explain the situation, he opens up the constellation channel. A hub pops up announcing the main scenario has appeared, stating kill one or more living organisms, and the Dakibi leaves asking for an interesting story. Usanga in a panic calls the police, however Dokja calms her down, explaining to her what the situation is. As different people in the crowd took the news differently, and an unknown man attempts to calm everyone down, announcing himself as an army lieutenant, explaining how this is considered a natural disaster. Dokja however recognizes him and his name Lee Hyun-sung, commenting on his name being imprinted in his mind, realizing is a supporting character from the novel but questioning why has appeared before he was meant to in the novel. As Dokja thinks of how he wished he could reread the novel, an announcement to the public confirming it's a level 1 disaster, however it is the Prime Minister and not the President making the announcement, the crowd questioning why it is him, but we find out the President was killed, showing the severity of the situation. The Dakibi announcing this is no joke and not as simple as it seems. The timer set for the scenario is abruptly shortened to 10 minutes. Dokja begins to feel uneasy and questions why Lee Hyun-sung appeared but not a mysterious figure claiming someone should appear by now. No one is killing anybody, and this begins to bore the Dakibi, so in order to urge them to hurry up he displays a gruesome image and shows a high school class being murdered, exempting this will be them. However the onlookers watch as a single girl survives via strangling a classmate. As everyone is blizzarded by the situation, Dokja is questioning for the experience of someone. He wishes he could read the novel but it has been removed, however he checks his emails and sees a copy. Excitingly downloading the file, seeing an attribute window pop up, he notes how in the novel survivors had a special exclusive skill. He dismisses it, however wanting to read the file, but upon checking it he gains an attribute that increases his reading speed. Noting it took him less than a minute to read the first act. Thanks to this he finds out he is on a different carriage from this mysterious man, noting is behind the protagonist compartment, realizing as he reads the novel it states there was only 2 survivors. As he sees this, a white-haired boy attacks an old lady. With all this information he deducts Usanga will most likely die, and so will he. The rich man from earlier stops the young man from beating the old lady. However to the teen explains the reality that no one is here to save them as they onlook to all the pain and destruction, convincing everyone to understand this was the young man who adapted the fastest to the new world, Kim Namwon. Everyone seeing this followed suit as they beat on the old lady. Deokja spectates this as Usanga rushes to stop them but is quickly stopped, marveling at how great she is, but stops her from interfering. Dokja then walks forward proclaiming how he did not interfere, not because he was afraid of the group or because he disagreed with them, but because he was simply waiting for the right moment to strike. As a flashing light appears, Dokja sprints ahead. While everyone else becomes dazzled, Dokja charges at the young boy, explaining he did not push the boy to help the old lady, but that was not his intention. He was searching for a boy. He then proclaims how none of them will survive even if they kill the old lady, explaining they'll each have to kill someone. Kim Namwon stands up, stating there's nothing wrong with that, they can just kill cowards like him. Dokja watches him, knowing he'll say that. He then took the box of insects from the kid, claiming even if you do kill the lady it will not make them past the situation, as only one person will die, but everyone must kill one person themselves, convincing everyone of these bugs. But since gaining their attention, questioning why is smiling and enjoying such a situation, wondering if he was always this person, squishing the bug and throwing the container of bugs, gaining 200 coins for the first kill. Kim Namwon curiously asks him why he didn't just hand them over. Dokja claims there was only 3 insects. Kim Namwon laughs, presuming Dokja is sadistic and just wanted to watch them fight. Dokja claims Namwon, it's that kind of guy, a cruel, rampant person who enjoys these situations. Dokja activates a personal skill and gets a character profile of Kim Namwon. Namwon Kim, age 19, he had no supporting constellations but 2 was interested, his personal attribute being an edge lord, having his general evaluation a warning to avoid him. Dokja monologues how most teen edgelords killed themselves but Namwon Kim did not, commenting on how Kim Namwon had been waiting for the apocalypse and adapted at unusual speed. Kim Namwon expressing interest in Dokja. The next chapter begins with the burning of train 3707 with only 1 survivor and Dokja declining Namwon's offer. Dokja thinking how if he did not read TWSA, 3 Ways to Survive an Apocalypse for short, he would have made a different choice. Kim Namwon dismisses the interest for Dokja and went for the granny, however being stopped by Dokja realizing how much he hates Namwon and TWSA. Namwon then attacks Dokja, awakening his ability. While doing so, Dokja surprised has activated his ability and why the protagonist still recruited him despite him being a psychopath. Dokja unlocks a new skill, Omniscient Reader Viewpoint. The crowd, searching for the bugs, watched as Dokja dodges all attacks, having his skill give him the ability tells him what attacks are coming, Dokja claiming as if he could read his mind. Dokja just wanting to hold on until the situation is over, wanting to keep the granny alive so Namwon does not pass over to the next scenario.
Kim Dokja getting a slight cut, while saving the old lady, narrating the state of the world and how it is survival of the fittest. Dokja then crushes insect eggs, gaining more total coins for killing a living organism. Dokja then offered if he'll like a tutorial on coin usage, declines and hurriedly puts 2,700 coins to stamina, to make his level of stamina increase to 10, increasing his durability so Namwon's knife will not pierce him. Dokja then explaining how grasshoppers lay more than 100 eggs during mating season, meaning Dokja's coins count for all those eggs. Dokja ominously claiming, I'm not the one who's going to die, you are, with 57 seconds left. Kim Namwon attacks, begging he doesn't want to die, as Dokja blankly stares on. The Dakibi returns, questioning what happened as he looks under the dead bodies of those who failed the scenario. Dokja watches over Namwon's body, reminiscing to how he begged for his life, agreeing he is like Namwon, acknowledging he could have saved those people's lives, seeing his overall gain of coins and unlocking a new achievement. As we see the survivors watch over the destroyed city, a large sea serpent snake appeared, explained to be considered a grade 7 monster in TWSA, and noting how they will not be attacked as scenarios in this world are the priority, we see 21 stars. Dokja noting how 21 stars means 21 constellation or watching constellations are explained as the most mysterious beings in TWSA behind the fall of the world. Dokja claiming how Namwon killed almost everyone in the cabin in the original story. Dokja gets a notification on 2 constellations feeling hostile towards him for the death of Namwon, however some constellations being impressed gifted Dokja 500 coins. Dokja claiming he hopes they enjoyed some will pay with their lives. Dokja looking at the survivors while asking the kid from earlier to team up with him, not out of sympathy however but for the will to live. The Dakibi expressingly telling them their actions should be awarded, the reward being the people allowed to be sponsored. The Dakibi disappointing with the reaction explains how at the moment they are weak, however constellations can help them to obtain power to survive. The Dakibi giving a new mission for them, that being select a constellation. The options are Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, Demonic Judge of Fire, Secretive Plotter and Prisoner of the Golden Headband. For Dokja the sponsor selection is explained as a system who watch the characters through the Dakibi channel, and for them to choose humans they like as their incarnation. Seeing 4 constellation wishing to sponsor Dokja, Dokja noting their real names are never revealed and how the protagonist of TWSA had 5 so 4 isn't bad, Dokja deduces their names. Starting with the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, noting he's a powerful constellation who leads a group of constellations, explaining the incarnations of him get a host of power. Unfortunately you'll end up a psychotic killer, noting he was the constellation for Namwon. Kim Dokja goes on to explain the Fire Judge could be demonic, however her name indicates she makes judgment fire, meaning she is Archangel Uriel. Noting despite her lower constellations of absolute good impose restrictions on ones they sponsor. Dokja then goes on to the third god, Secretive Plotter. Dokja claims to not know much on the Secretive Plotter, claiming he never seen them before. Moving on from that he checks the last name, completely distraught seeing that this constellation has made an offer, already explaining how the name implies it's negative, but upon inspection he can deduct it's the Great Sage, Heavens equals Sun Wukong, noting how powerful a sponsor of him was in TWSA. Questioning if he chooses him as his sponsor, could he beat the protagonist, however the selection ends. The survivors go through formal introductions, Hyunsung Lee introducing himself whilst Dokja thinks how strong his grip is, that making sense due to him being a tank in TWSA. Hyunsung thanking him from earlier actions, the snobby rich man from earlier introducing himself, but Dokja already knows who he is. Mr. Han, the rich man, critiques Dokja on his work, Dokja explaining how the world has changed. As the group discusses what they should do next, a door comes thrashing forward, Dokja noting to himself how this must be the true protagonist of the story. Dokja hurriedly hides, rushes everyone, describing they will die if they do not leave. Everyone panics to check each door works in order to escape the man who killed everyone in the prior cabin, however they find a door that works. Usanga finds a working door, however it will not fully open. Dokja considers using his coins on his strength but opts not to and preserves his coins to not be reckless. Dokja then however orders Hyunsung Lee to use his skill, activating his character profile. Seeing his supporting constellations is the same in the novel. Hyansong activates his skill and open the door. However, as they escape they run into the Dakibi, who told them they should have stayed out, and for that reason activates the second scenario. This scenario reading: get over the collapsed bridge. Dokja immediately begins to run, telling everyone the bridge is still intact due to everyone leaving early. A giant sea serpent however appears and aims to destroy the bridge, the Dakibi ominously laughing, proclaiming it'll be no fun without it being difficult. In this action the difficulty of the scenario increased from E to D. Zombies also start to appear chasing the group. But the giant sea serpent appears and destroys the bridge. As Dokja inspects everyone's safety, someone's constellation helps via giving a blessing, making a bridge appear. How the rule is 2 people must only cross, so it is equal. The constellation was Sanga's and it was called Deus Ex Machina. This was the constellation getting involved in order to save Sangha, and Dokja claims this is rare. Dokja, out of curiosity, checks her constellation but cannot access her character profile. However, upon Dokja wondering why he cannot access her profile, is attacked. This so happens to be a zombified version of Namwon. Dokja attempts to use his omniscient reader's viewpoint skill, but due to Namwon having no conscience does not work. Dokja notes how in order to cross the bridge someone must die, as an even number must cross. However, mid-battle Mr. Han grabs Sangha and runs over the bridge. Dokja then deduces he cannot read people who are not in TWSA. Dokja is then rushed by monsters, fighting them off as the Dakibi teases him. Dokja then questions if he'll die but activates a combat skill called Bookmark. Using this bookmark skill he sees Namwon's Kim's abilities and activates it in order to fight off the zombie crowd. Dokja uses Namwon Kim's ability and slays Namwon, however is exhausted, using the ability left tired amongst the zombie crowd swarming him. Dokja, claiming the protagonist is late but should be arriving, sees an explosion and a crowd of zombies fall. A man appears before Dokja, curious to who Dokja is. Dokja, growing intimidated by the man, he attempts to use his character profile skill, but there was too much about this character to read, so it was converted to a summary. However, is grabbed and strangled, forcing Dokja to explain who he is. Jung-hikyu, the regressor, noting is the man who will kickstart the tragedy that will turn the world around. Jung-hik punches Dokja, noting he has a strong body. Realizing Dokja knows how to use coins, Dokja is held there in fear, describing right now in the early stages he is the most dangerous character in the world of TWSA, noting he's lost his humanity by now, regressing 3 times already by now. Jung-hik goes to punch Dokja, wishing to be shown respect. Dokja stops the punch, however, proclaiming Jung-hik should be the one to show him respect. Jung-hik from this encounter grows cautious of Dokja, asking Dokja if he knows who he is. Knowing Dokja lie, Dokja says he was a fan of Jung-hik and telling him how he liked, hated, resented, and cheered for Jung-hik in order to get past Jung-hik lie detector ability. Not defecting a lie, asks another question: how Dokja survived the subway. Dokja, understanding Jung-hik, levels up his omniscient reader skill, being able to read Jung-hik mind, telling Jung-hik how he survived. Jung-hik notes how the future is changing, questioning his actions, realizes how dangerous Dokja could be and activates his Eye of Sage ability. This ability allows Jung-hik to see someone's attribute window. However, when trying this on Dokja, a personal skill, the fourth wall, is activated, making Jung-hik wish to kill him. However, with an exchange between the two, Dokja explains he will need help on scenario 46 and that he knows the future. Jung-hik does not. Jung-hik sees Dokja is telling the truth and questions if he is a prophet like a girl named Anna Croft. This is described being able to see the future. Dokja explains to Jung-hik that his knowledge of the future is incomplete. This is because he is a regressor, they relive their lives. However, events can change if they do things differently or if they reach a stage they have not before. Dokja pretending to be a prophet in order to entice Jung-hik to be his companion. Jung-hik, allowing Dokja to accompany him, drags Dokja across the bridge. Reaching the end of the bridge, Jung-hik asks one more question to Dokja. As prophets can see their own future, he hangs Dokja over a sea serpent, asking if he'll drop him or not. Dokja, wishing to tell him a few things before he answers, firstly tells him to treat him as an equal, not a lackey, and to secondly cooperate with him. Jung-hik then asks for his answer, Dokja responding with telling him to let you, which Jung-hik does, saying he does believe Dokja is a prophet. Dokja then falls into the sea serpent's mouth, falling the scenario. Dokja reaches the stomach of the sea serpent. Dokja, curious on if Jung-hik is testing him, claiming it is expected of Jung-hik and his ego. Dokja opens his message log, seeing certain constellation favor his actions and that some do not. Dokja noting to himself the sea serpent will start producing acid, not having long left, but the Dakibi appears, mocking Dokja. Surprised, Dokja was waiting for the Dakibi. Dokja vowing to obtain the power to be the equal of Jungheek. Dokja understanding the penalty will not be death, he impresses the Dakibi with that deduction. The Dakibi claims to understand why constellations have their eye on him, however proposed he can buy himself out with 5,100 coins. That's all the coins Dokja has. The Dakibi understand this, asks him to go ahead and die if he doesn't want to pay up. Dokja then asked to be killed. To the dismay of the Dakibi, understand the Dakibi cannot kill him as he is drawing in a crowd of constellations. Dokja explaining his name as low-grade Dakibi. Bai Hyung asking how his career as a streamer is going. Amps to the shock of the Dakibi, stunned at how a human knows this information, but due to this information constellations grew suspicious of Dokja. Dokja asking however for him to shut off the channel for a bit. The Dakibi curious to how a mortal knows of the star stream system. This system is described as constellations. Watch the humans act in the story Dakibi's stream. However, Dokja dismisses Bai Hyung and tell him he understands he wants to be the Dakibi king, proposing through can enter a contract together so Dokja can make him the Dakibi king. Bai Hyung burst into laughter at such a suggestion, claiming he is not a constellation so they cannot enter a contract. Dokja not wanting a sponsor but wishing to enter a stream contact, this being described as a contract between a constellation and Dakibi for share of coins earned. Bai Hyung becomes enraged at such a request, but not wanting to accept the offer. Dokja explains the constellations join star streams for two reasons, one being the thrill seekers looking for entertainment and the others bring incarnation seekers in search of an incarnation sponsor. Dokja then explains he will not take on any sponsors to draw those constellations to the stream so they won't leave. Bai Hyung not yet willing to enter the contract ask for Dokja to pay a fee for failing the scenario, but Dokja exclaims to open the channel for the next scenario as it appears. This scenario being required to slay the sea serpent Dokja is in. Bai Hyung begins to beg the constellation for forgiveness for stopping the channel. Dokja however got Bai Hyung to open the Dakibi shop. Dokja searches for two items, one being the ancient dragon. To the shock of Bai Hyung however it was sold out. Dokja claiming the owner is on Italy however buys two more cheap items. Bai Hyung leaves Dokja to complete the scenario. Dokja uses the pins he brought to climb the monster's stomach. Dokja begins to doubt himself, questioning how many days are passed, surviving 4 days as Bai Hyung appears surprised at how Dokja used the thorns. Dokja falls as he becomes the first person to hunt a tier 7 monster, gaining many coins in the process. Bai Hyung inspects how Dokja killed the beast, deducing the thorns drained its mana. Dokja explaining how he survived, shocking Bai Hyung opening the stomach of the beast, obtaining an item. Dokja needing the shop to be open to trade. Bai Hyung goes to an AD. Eventually, they enter a stream contract, arguing over the coin ratio. Bai Hyung wanting a 50-50 split, but Dokja understanding this is a scam. Dokja explains Bai Hyung would have made a lot of profit due to him, and so with this information he claims he will be taking all the earned coins, while Bai Hyung can have commissions, and also demanding 5,000 coins as a fee. Dokja noting to himself he expected to kill the beast in 2 days, not 4, but not disappointed as it took Jungheek 4 days on his 4th regression. Dokja then climbs out to the surface of land, talking to the Bai Hyung, testing if his 4th wall can interfere with their interferences. Seeing how no one can see his attributes he can keep concealed, Dokja then enters the second main scenario.